Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started with our class today. We're happy to have you all here. It is a lunchtime lecture, so we hope that you all brought a nice lunch to enjoy along with class. For those of you out on the West Coast, where it's just about 9 o'clock now, we hope you have a nice big cup of coffee, maybe a breakfast sandwich, something like that to enjoy along with class today. So what we're going to discuss today is how to link to media files from PastPerfect Online records. We're going to walk through two specific examples, linking to a PDF and then embedding a video file. So before we get started with that, I do just want to say that you are encouraged to ask questions during class. Some of you have taken classes with us before, so you are familiar with the GoToWebinar interface. But just as a review, and for those of you who this might be your first class, you can see up on my screen a sample of what your GoToWebinar question box looks like. We encourage you again to ask your questions. My colleague Allison is here. She'll be working to respond to you as I present the class today. Any questions that you don't receive a response to through the chat window or through the questions window, we'll either review as a group during the Q&A session at the end of class, or we will get in touch with you individually this afternoon or tomorrow to answer your questions. So what I want to do before we jump into things is I want to launch a quick poll. So I'm going to do that right now. You should see it up on your screen. We're going to leave it up for just about a minute or so. And we're just asking how many of you have media files, PDF, audio files, video files, large archival images, or other types of files that are ready to share online. So we'll just leave that up for a little bit, and we'll get you guys to answer that and then see those results. All right, we're going to leave it up for just about another 10 seconds or so. So if you haven't voted yet, now is the time. Okay, so I'm just going to close this poll. I'm going to close that up, and then we will share the results. All right, so it looks like a lot of you already have files ready to share. That's really great. We do also have a handful of people who are either working on this or aren't quite ready, but probably are hoping to do this in the future, which is why you're in this class today. I think that all of you, regardless of the answer you gave, will be able to benefit from this class. So I'm really happy to see those answers, and we can get started now with the rest of class today. Okay, so I'm just going to hide those results. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to review with you guys the basic steps to sharing the media files online. So I'm just going to bring that up real quick. Okay, so the first step is to host the file in a web-facing location. There's two ways that you can do this. You can use a general service or a content-specific service. We have some examples of that up on the screen. A general service may be something like PPO Links, which is a service that we offer. You may have in-house server space. You can check with your IT on that. They should be able to let you know. Or you could use some type of third-party service like FatCow or GoDaddy, or there are others out there as well. Content-specific services are things that you've probably heard of before, for example, YouTube, SoundCloud, Scribd, among others. We encourage you to look around at various options. Some are going to be free, some you might have to pay for, some might have restrictions on the number of files or the amount of space that they will provide. So just look around and see which service may fit your needs the best. The second step to sharing your media files online is to link to the file in PastPerfect using HTML. We'll talk about HTML in depth a bit later today, but for right now, what I want us to understand about step 2 is that you're creating the connection between the file you uploaded in step 1 and your PastPerfect program. And then the final step is to include that field with the HTML online and create and upload your files. Just like with any change you make that you want to appear on your PastPerfect Online site, you have to create and upload the files for those changes to go live. These 3 steps are the same regardless of what file type you're sharing. The most common file type that we see is PDF, usually transcripts or finding aids, but you can share most file types on your site. Video files and audio files are also really common along with those PDFs. So now that we have those 3 kind of basic steps that we've outlined, we want to look at our 2 examples to see how they can be put into practice. We're going to start with our example of linking to a PDF file. So I'm going to bring up our PastPerfect Online site, and I'm going to do a search for the archive record that we'll be working with. That way we can see it now, and then we'll check on it again later to see the changes we've made. So this is an archive record for a letter. And what we can see is we do have some data about this item. We've included the title, the creator, the scope and content, things like that. And we do have 5 images as well that do show the letter. Now, these images are great as a visual representation of what this letter looks like, but it's not really designed to be read. It's not designed to be something that people are going to be able to look at and see and really get the full content of this letter. So if we wanted to provide that to our visitors, the best way would be creating a link to a transcript that we've created. So that's what we're going to show you how to do, how to create that link. So I'll start by going into my PastPerfect program. And I'm going to go into Archives to find this item. And it is the first one we have up here, 2003.1.3. It's our letter. I'm going to go to the custom screen view because this is where I'm going to add in my HTML. I need to pick which custom field to use for this purpose. And I need to either use field 21 or field 22. The reason I have to stick with one of these 2 fields is that they are the memo fields, the ones of unlimited length. The HTML that I'm going to enter is going to be too long to fit in one of these shorter custom fields. So that's why we need to stick with one of the 2 memo fields. In order to use custom fields efficiently and effectively, we want to make sure that each field is only used for a single purpose. So I need to start by figuring out which of these 2 fields is not currently in use. I can do that with a quick query. And I'll just do that for field 21 is not empty. So basically looking for anything where that field has something in it. And we can see that no matching records are found. This is great. This means that field 21 is empty for all my archive records, and it's a good one for me to use for this purpose. If I did receive results here, if there were archive records that had field 21 filled in, I could do the same query for field 22 to see if that's a viable option. If both of them are populated with data, get in touch with us and we can help talk about some alternate solutions. So I know for my purposes today, I'm going to use field 21. I'm going to exit all the way out back to my main menu to rename that field. I'm going to go to Setup and Custom Fields, and then select Archives. I'll go down to my field 21, highlight my text, delete it, and give it a new name. I'm giving it a somewhat generic name of Media Link. The reason I'm going with this more generic name is because while I'm linking to a PDF transcript today, tomorrow I may be linking to another file type. Giving it this more general name will allow me to link to any type of file type that I may need down the line. So before we actually upload our file to our web-facing location, I do just want to talk about the service we're going to use today to do that. In our example today, we are using PPO Links, which is a service offered through PastPerfect, but I want to make really clear that PPO Links is not required to share files. You can also use any other existing space that you have on your server. Again, that's kind of that general hosting space we talked about before. We would encourage you to talk with your IT people to see if they have space you can use. If you already have a website hosted somewhere, you may also be able to use space alongside your website. So if you have a site that's hosted through the city or through your county, you can talk to them too. So again, although we're using PPO Links in our example today, if you do have web-facing server space, you can use that as well. The really important thing to take away from this example is the concept that we're taking a file that is local to us on our computer and putting a copy of it into a web-facing location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch my screen really quickly to head back to my desktop. You may just see the screen flash for a moment. Okay. So we're on my desktop now, and I'm going to begin by locating the PDF transcript for this letter. I have this folder right here on my desktop that I'll open up. I'm going to move it to the side. And it's this document right here, the Camp Bird letter. I'll open it quickly for us to take a look. And we can see that it's a PDF. It's a transcript of the letter that we looked at on our PastPerfect Online site a few minutes ago. I wanted to open it here because when we open it at the end of class, you'll be able to see that it's the same. So I need to open up a new window in order to connect to my PPO Links account. Whatever service you use will be able to offer you the information on how to log in to the area where you're going to host your files. So I'm just going to put in my address. In a moment, it will pop up asking me for a username and a password. And once I log in, I'll see if there's maybe anything else I'm already hosting, which it does look like I have a few files here for maybe some other records I'm sharing things for. And if I want to copy my Camp Bird letter over, I just select it. I pick copy. I go into my FTP folder into a blank space and pick paste. So again, all I just did is I found my local copy that was on my desktop, and I made a copy of it to put it into my web-facing spot, my PPO Links account in this case. Once you've copied over your file, you can close out your windows and head back to PastPerfect. I'm just going to switch my screen again. So again, you may just see a flash for a moment. All right, and we're back to PastPerfect now. So I'm going to go back to my archive record, and I'm going to go to the custom screen view. And we can see that our custom field, used to be called Archive Field 21, is now renamed to be Media Link. So it's ready to go for us to put in our HTML. The HTML, again, being that connection between the web-facing location and the PastPerfect program. So I will click on Edit. And what I actually have is this HTML copied into a Notepad document. So I'm just going to paste that in. And we'll talk about this HTML more in just a moment. But once you have the HTML entered into the custom field, you can just click on Save. And then the next time this record is uploaded to your PastPerfect Online site, as long as that custom field has been selected to go online, the changes will appear. So let's look at that HTML a bit more in depth. So what you see on the screen is the exact HTML that I just put into that custom field. It is not important to memorize this or even to write it down. I just want to talk about the main components that we have here. So the part that's highlighted right now is the actual HTML tag. HTML is made up of tags, which the internet kind of reads to display information in certain ways. The part that's highlighted up at the front, the A with the bracket, the href equals quote, and then look to the end of that line, the quote and the close bracket, that's all the opening tag. We have below that the closing tag, which is a little bit shorter and simpler. The next part that you see highlighted is the link to the file itself. This link actually appears within that opening tag. If you look to the left and to the right of it, that's the part that was highlighted just a moment ago. This is basically an address. Just like your street address to your house, it's really specific to you. This is an address that is really specific to the PDF we just uploaded. I want to mention that the name of the file, in this case, campbirdletter.pdf, the name of the file is really, really important that you have it to be specifically the same, exactly the same as the file you uploaded. Spacing, capitalization, and spelling all matter. For this reason, it's a good idea to keep your file names short and simple. We also don't suggest that you put any spaces in your file names. If you really need something like a space, you might want to consider an underscore instead. So it kind of looks like a space, but it isn't actually a space. All right, and then the final part of this HTML is the text that will appear online as a link. So this where it says, click here to view the transcript, when we're done uploading this and we see it on our PastPerfect Online site, this is what will actually display for us to click on and open the PDF. So here again is just the entire HTML with no highlighting. And again, it's not important to memorize this exact HTML. It's just the concept that there are these kind of three main components. You need the HTML tag itself, you need the link to the file, and you need to know what you want that link to display as on the site. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our second example, embedding a video onto a record. Once we have that set up, we'll come back to select the fields to go online and create and upload our files to see our changes live on our site. So just like we did with our transcript, we're going to start at our PastPerfect Online site to do a search for our record where we will be embedding the video. Okay, we have this little mechanical animal, a little toy bird. So again, just like the letter, we do have some information about this item, but it is a mechanical toy, so it would be really cool if we could show a little video of this item in use. So that's what we're going to work to add. So we'll head back into PastPerfect. And just like with our archive item, the first thing we need to do for objects is to figure out which custom field we want to use. The custom screen view is pretty much the same. You see we have our two memo fields here at the top. We're going to pick one of those. And we can do our query in the same way to figure out which of these fields for objects is not being used. So just as a review, we go into query. We select our field. We will say is not empty. And we get no matching records, which again is good. That means that this custom field 21 is empty for all of our object items. Therefore, it's a good one for us to use. So I'll exit back to the main screen, just like I did for archives. Go into Setup and Custom Fields. Make sure I'm on the screen for objects, and I can rename my field. Again, I'll use a generic name like Media Link. If you do want to know more about running those queries or how to rename and use your custom fields, you can give us a call after class. We also have some tech tips on our YouTube page about it, and your user guide does also have information. I know we went over those things a little bit quickly because this class is more focused on PastPerfect Online, but we're definitely happy to answer questions about queries or custom fields after class if you have them. So I'll exit out from my custom field screen. And I'm going to go back into Objects to my custom screen view to see that my field has been renamed to Media Link. So my next step is to get my file up into my web-facing location. In this case, I'm going to be using YouTube. So I'll bring up my YouTube page. And I have actually already uploaded this video. YouTube is something that they have their own tutorials, which are pretty handy. So we felt that this is something we could kind of just already upload this and have it ready to go. So I'll select my video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Share. And then I'm going to click on Embed. And I'm going to copy the HTML right up here. So I'll just review that one more time for you. We clicked on Share, and then Embed, and we took this HTML right up here. Once we have that selected, we can go back to our PastPerfect program, click on Edit, and in our custom field here that we've already set up, we can paste that right in. YouTube is going to assign a height and a width to the video. You can kind of see them to the right of my cursor. I'll highlight it. Maybe that will be a good way to see it there. You do just want to keep an eye on this. If this is the route you're going to go to embed your files, we suggest that the width be no more than about 550 or so. In our example, we have it at 560, so this one's okay. But you do just want to keep an eye on that in case YouTube has given this a much larger width, and you may need to adjust it down, and that is something we are happy to help you do. So once you have your HTML in your custom field, you can click on Save, and we can exit back to the main menu of the software. So now we've put in our HTML to embed our video and to link to our PDF. So the final step is to include those fields online and create and upload the files. So I'm going to go in to the PastPerfect Online Web Publishing Wizard, to the first step of selecting fields to include. So for objects, I'm going to find my custom field 21. And then for archives, I will do the same thing. And for archives, I think I want that link to the PDF to be higher up on the record. I'm worried if it's down at the bottom, people might not see it. So I'm actually going to move this up to be my fourth field. I'm going to click on Next. And I am going to give both of these fields a custom name. If I upload them right now with their name as is, it's not going to make much sense to my visitors. When I did my renaming before, that's just for the custom field in the PastPerfect program. It doesn't have anything to do with how the field displays online. So even though we already did rename these fields once, that was just for PastPerfect. Now we need to rename them for PastPerfect Online. So what I'm going to do is I am going to give them the same name of Media Link. I'll do the same for archives. And you can think if you want to use this more generic term, or if you know that you will only ever be linking to transcripts, you can feel free to rename the field to be transcript. It's really kind of, you have to think about your project and think about what name might be best. So I've included my two custom fields online. I've given them both custom names. So what I can do now is I can continue on to the screen to create my web publishing files. And I can also know that the settings I just put in place, picking those fields and renaming those fields, they are going to stay in place. So there's no need for me to do that each time. Those are kind of one-time things. Once they're done, they're done. So I'm on the screen where I can create my files. I don't need to do anything with images. I haven't changed those, so I'll remove that check. And then click Create Files Now. This will just take a minute. Just like any time you create your files, it's just going through to see what's been selected to go online. When it is done in just a minute or so, it will give us a message that it is complete. We can click on OK, and then click on Next. Again, since I've not done anything with images, I can take that check away. To make sure, of course, that data files does remain selected. And I can click Upload Data and Images to Website. It will tell us when it's complete. This just means that the files have left our computer and have reached our servers. It will still take a couple of minutes for our servers to kind of unpack that information and make it live on our site. So I'll just click on OK. And I will exit from the Web Publishing Wizard. So while we wait for our site to kind of make those changes live, I do want to talk about things to consider when selecting which media files you want to share. We do believe that it's better to have a smaller selection of well-crafted media links as opposed to putting up unedited links for everything in your entire collection. When thinking about what media files I want to share, I usually ask myself a series of questions to kind of help me decide and guide me in my process. I find that answering these questions about each file kind of helps me to know what to do next. So we'll bring those questions up now and talk about them together. Okay, so first I like to think, is this file in a web-friendly size and format? Video and audio recordings are usually captured at a very high quality. Transcripts and finding aids may be dozens or even hundreds of pages long. This is excellent for archival purposes, but if you do upload the entirety of these high quality files, it will cause your web page to load slowly. While there are no set guidelines for the file size or the file type that you do upload, many third-party sites, YouTube, SoundCloud, the ones we mentioned before, will have guidelines, so you can definitely check those out. You may want to consider creating a web-friendly version of the file, so maybe just a segment of the recording or the first few pages of a transcript, or a part of an oral history that really is kind of the plum story of everything that came out of that interview. The key to remember is that you're creating this file for presentation, not preservation. You still have your high quality archival image stored somewhere on site. You're not getting rid of that. That's staying in place. This is just a web-friendly version for your visitors to see. Next, I ask myself, what will my web visitors learn from this item? Not every item needs to have a transcript or video file online. You should have a description of the item entered into the PastPerfect record that gives your visitors a good idea of what this item is. The media link that you upload should fill in the gap, so to speak. It should give your visitor information that they can't get from what you're already sharing. Next, I consider if a portion of this item might give me the same results as the entire item. You need to consider if your visitors will need or want to view this entire file. This kind of gets back to our first question. Maybe just a few pages of the transcript or just the part of the oral history will be sufficient. Another way to think about this is that the file might act as the quote-unquote movie trailer for the item that will make your visitor want to contact you to learn more. And finally, is this an item I want to use my resources on? You only have so much time and you probably already have too much to fill it with. So you need to do what you can with the time and resources you have. You should select which items are most important and then focus on those. In addition to these questions, you may think of other questions to ask that are specific to your collection or your museum's mission. However you go about deciding which media files to share, we believe that having a clear intention in mind and remembering that media files aren't required for every item will help you be successful in this project. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to head to our PastPerfect Online site so that we can see the changes we just made. Okay, so we're going to head there right now. I'm just going to bring that up. Give me just a second here. Okay, so first we're going to go to our archive record. We have our letter. And right here, media link, click here to view the transcripts. We can click right on that, and it will give us the same PDF we saw when we opened it up on my desktop. We can go back and do a search for our bird. We can go to his record, and we can see our video. Now, I just want to note real quick that the video may look a little choppy to you. That's only because it's being shared over the webinar. It's being transmitted twice, once to my screen and then again through GoToWebinar to your screen. If you do share videos online, they will not look like this. Their true quality will display since your visitors will be viewing it directly on their screen. So just a quick note about that. So just to kind of recap what we did, we reviewed the 3 main steps to sharing media links online, and then we did put those steps into practice by linking to a PDF and then embedding a video from YouTube. We talked about things to consider when selecting the files that you want to share. Remembering your goals and remembering those questions can help you figure out what really needs a link and what type of file that should be. So I know that Allison's been doing a great job of answering your questions during the class today, but we are going to do a Q&A session right now. What we're going to do is we're going to get our contact information up on the screen first so you can see that. So you can write that down or take a quick screenshot whenever you need. And then we're going to just take a really quick 2-minute break just so we can sort through the questions that are left and kind of decide which ones we're going to get to during our session today. If you do need to head out, no problem, we understand. We want to thank you for coming and remind you that an email will be sent out later today with a link to our lunchtime lecture training page so you can sign up for upcoming sessions. You can also see the link to that page at the bottom of the screen right now. All right, and as always, if you do have to head out and you have questions that weren't answered or you just think of something later, you can always reach out to us and we'll always be happy to talk with you. So we're just going to start that 2-minute break, just a real quick break to look over your questions, and we'll be back really shortly. Okay, so we're back. We're going to go over some of your questions. the first question that we had is, can we review those 3 basic steps to sharing the files online? And yes, we certainly can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just backtrack my PowerPoint here to get back to those. I think that will be the easiest way to do this. Oh, I'm just going to switch my screen. There we go. Okay, so the first step is to host the file in the web-facing location. So in the first example we did today, that was PPO links. We copied a PDF from a folder on our desktop to our PPO links folder. If you use a different service, maybe that in-house space that you can check with your IT about, or a service like FatCow, they will provide you with the instructions on how to access that space, and if you need to sign in, they should give you the username and the password. If you use PPO links, we provide you with that information. In our second example, we used YouTube, where we had a video already uploaded, and then we took the HTML that YouTube provided us, and we put that into our PastPerfect record to upload to our site. The next step is to link to the file in PastPerfect using HTML. So that's why we set up those custom fields, and we put that HTML in. The HTML for the PDF was one that we just typed in. The one from the, or to link to the embedded the video was one that YouTube provided to us. And then finally, we include the fields with the HTML online. That was in the web publishing wizard, where we selected custom field 21 for objects and selected custom field 21 for archives. And then we did rename each of those to have a more web-friendly name so our visitors would know what that field was for. All right, we had another question that's talking about how the link actually displays on the PastPerfect Online site. So I'll go back to our page here, and we're going to go back to our transcript. It's going to be a little easier to display it there. And our link here appears as the text, click here to view the transcript. Now, that text is appearing because that is the text we put into the HTML. We'll see that it kind of relates right here. Click here to view the transcript. So if you're sharing a different media type, you can change that text to be something like click here to view the video, or click here to hear the audio. If you want it to be somewhat generic, so you can just use the same for every file you share, you could just say click here to view additional media. So as specific or kind of as general as you like. And one example we actually have of that, if we go back to our site, I do have a record that I had gotten ready earlier that has an example of having 2 media links. And you can see one that says, click here to view the larger image, and the other, click here to view a document about this image. So they don't all have to say, click here to view transcript. What you want it to say is completely up to you. And while we're on this topic, let me even just show you real quick what that would look like in PastPerfect, what the HTML for this would look like. So you can see I have kind of 2 segments of HTML, just repeating that same HTML we talked about with the different link and the different texts. And I just separated them by hitting my Enter key a single time. Okay, we had another question, what file types can I share with PPO links? You can share most file types. If you're unsure or if you have kind of a unique file type, you can get in touch with us and we can test it here for you. But you do want to think that any file type you share, your visitor is going to need some type of program that can launch that file, unless you are just embedding it right into the record. So you probably do want to stick with some of the more basic file types, PDFs, WMV, things like that. But again, if you have a file type and you're not sure if it will work, or you kind of want to see what it might look like before you go full on into a project using that type of file, you can get in touch with us, and we're definitely happy to upload a sample or two for you to one of our test sites so you can see what it would look like. Okay, we had another question. If you are uploading PDFs, are they going to be searchable? The answer is that they are not searchable. The PDFs are not right in your PastPerfect Online record. They have not been indexed for those keyword searches, advanced searches, and things to know what is in there. This is why it is important that even if you link to a transcript, you do have the description filled in with a brief summary of the item. Use other fields like title, search terms, things like that. PDFs themselves are searchable. So once your visitor opens up a PDF in their PDF reader, they should be able to use the search functions in there to do searches if they want. Okay, we had a question. Can we use something like Google Drive or Google Photos as our web-facing location? The answer is yes. Anywhere that you have a file hosted that is accessible by a URL is something that you can use. Okay, a question specific to the video. Can we share the URL that links to the YouTube page rather than embed the video in the record? Again, the answer is yes, you can absolutely do that. In that case, instead of copying the embed code like we did, you would just copy the URL and use that in its place in the appropriate HTML tags. So yes, you can absolutely link to a YouTube video as opposed to embedding it. Okay, a question here about, is there a way to make entering in the HTML easier? This is a really good question. So HTML is a bit finicky. Making sure it's right is really important. For example, even if you miss a quote or you miss a bracket, it's not going to work. So what you can do is you can have maybe a notepad document where you have the basis of that HTML, and then you can just copy paste that into the PastPerfect record and swap out the appropriate parts. You can swap out the link to the item or swap out the text that you want to appear. Just as an example, when I copied in the HTML for our transcript, I had a notepad document that I copied that from, and I can show that to you right now just so you can see what I used. So this is just what I had up on my screen that I copy pasted from. So you could do that same thing. You could just copy paste this. Show a quick example. Go into a record. We'll just go to our next archive record here. You can just paste that in. And as long as you're using the same folder each time, all you would need to do is change out the name of the file. So in this case, the name of the PDF. And then change out, if necessary, what you want the link to appear as. If they're all PDFs, you can just leave them all, click here to view the transcript. It's up to you. But definitely copy pasting not only saves you time, but it does help to ensure consistency in your HTML, consistency and accuracy. Okay, let's see. Did we have any other questions here? All right, it looks like there was one other question that we had specifically about PPO links. PPO links is, as I mentioned, a service that we offer. It's not included in the base PastPerfect Online hosting because the files that you host are much larger than the images and data that you already have on your site. So it is a separate kind of module that you can purchase. There is an annual fee for members of AASLH. It's $100 per year for 10 gigabytes of space. So you can think about how much space you think you're going to need. If you have only a handful of your items ready to go, but you think they're pretty You know, pretty much an example of what the other ones will be size-wise. You can kind of extrapolate how much size you might need and then figure out if you would need the 10 gigabytes, if you want a second block for 20 gigabytes, and then go from there. I will say that most of our clients who have PPO links are in that first or second level of either needing 10 gigabytes or 20. Okay, so I think we've gotten pretty much all the questions. If you do think of anything else about this class, about anything else related to PastPerfect Online, you can always get in touch with us. I'll put our contact information on the screen again so that you can have that handy. We'll leave that up for a few minutes. Let's get to that here. Sorry, I will have to go through the whole PowerPoint. Oops, too far. All right, there we go. So yeah, we'll close up the class in just a couple minutes. We'll leave this on the screen for you. But again, contact us if you have any questions at all. We always, love talking with all of you. All right, so thanks for coming. We hope we see you in our next 2 lunchtime lectures, next Monday and the Monday after. If you haven't signed up yet, you can visit that link on your screen to do so. Okay, and then the final thing is that when the class does close today in just a couple minutes, you might be prompted to answer a quick survey. That survey will also be in the follow-up email that we send to you tomorrow. We do appreciate you taking the time to fill that out. It's really a way for us to improve these classes for you. Hearing directly from you, knowing what you enjoyed, knowing what you would like more of is something that we want to know so that we can improve these classes for you. All right, so thanks for coming, and we'll talk with you all soon.